MotoGP Mac, where MotoGP fans come to congregate and fanboys fear to tread. Wow, the most boring race to ever walk the face of the earth.
Jeez, not like the first time we've heard this today from you. Anyway,
A persistent.
You say because of Honda. That's what it is.
Yeah.
No, I told you. I wanted the Honda. I thought the Honda, if he won, he'd get concessions kicked off. They have to, actually build a good bike on equal terms. When that rocked their world.
Yeah, well, like the concessions won't be changed because they get a win. It goes on points and points brackets and stuff like this, so it won't change. It won't change anything. And look, if this was a completely dry race and they won it, and it was like they destroyed everyone. Yeah, you could kind of say Honda are back, and it's going to be the future's bright.
The rule stated with the concessions, if they win, they're out.
No, they're the old rules.
Oh, that's right. They make sure to make sure that the Japanese manufacturer.
No. These are the old rules when you got concessions coming in. The new rules and concessions, as I mentioned last week, goes on points scored throughout the year. So whatever bracket out the overall points. Remember, we were talking that like up to before the start of this race, Fabio or Yamaha were like 2% off moving from Group D to Group C, and where they would lose all of their ability to run different engine specs and this, that, and the other. I'm not going to say it was the most exciting race, but it was definitely the edge of the seat stuff where, for me, Zarco went and won that race. Do you know what I mean? He managed the track when it was slick, definitely slick weather or slick tires. He was able to manage that with the wet tires. But I suppose where I have the major problem with is this new ruling that they've come in where it's a double long lap penalty. But in this case, what we saw was that the riders all went out on wet tires on the warm-up lap to the grid, on the sighting lap to the grid. They saw that actually it had changed in the warm-up lap, and they came in and they changed it again. So what they then did was that they started from pit lane, took their original grid positions, and got a double long lap penalty. And just for me, when I'm looking at it, even in the wet or dry, if you change it, it's not really a penalty, because if you're on the right tires, losing 4 or 5 seconds doing a single long lap penalty is not really a penalty for changing your tires. Because look, we saw it today, people on the slick tires were 4 and 5 and 6 seconds a lap faster than the guys on the wets anyway, right? So
the long lap runoffs were very short. Very short.
It was like I still think it should be is that you can start on your original grid position again, but it's a ride through penalty is what you need to get. You need to get a penalty. Do you know what I mean? That's going to go, okay, if you're going to make this decision, they're not going to give you an easy race, right? A double long lap penalty is not really going to cost you an awful lot of time if you choose one tire to the other tire. Now, that's if you choose it and you get it right. If you choose it and get it wrong, I suppose it's just going to add to your decision that you made a bad decision. So I think that they need to look and tweak the rule. Also, snuck in with this rule as well is that if you miss more than 3 consecutive race weekends in a row, you get 1 day's testing.
Well, this race was such a cluster budge that if it was going to test the theory, it was a good race to test it on with the all falling rain and the whole bit.
Yeah. Well, look, I suppose, for me, it was always going to rain this weekend. I think an awful lot of them, but you have to give kudos to Zarco. If anyone was going to win it, like I suppose you would like to see Fabio win it as well, but there's no rider won the French Grand Prix since 1954. And it also brings the end of the Ducati domination. 22 races on the bounce they won, and now it's all over again. Yeah. So it is one of those things, but I guess it's just been a pretty just a weird race. Now, look, I have to say, like Zarco won that race. He was just fucking different league to everyone else. Like there was no one could get fucking close to him, and like it wasn't that he got out, got the gap, and maintained it. He extended the gap every lap, and like I can remember 14 laps to go, I was like, will you just fucking slow down, man, just fucking slow down, don't fucking bin it. And but look, there was nothing to worry about it, and you'd love to see him doing the backflips.
And didn't you think when Alex went down, didn't you think, oh, that's when you thought, oh, don't Zarco slow up, because that could happen to you.
Exactly. Yeah. And look, Mark rode a great race as well, to be fair to him, and like he did magic on Saturday. You could see it. He's definitely most comfortable when Alex is behind him, for 100% sure. He knows that there's not a lunatic threat coming. Do you know what I mean? But look in the sprint race, and even in qualifying, he was on the ball. One of the things, actually, and I was meant to bring this up, was that I was looking during the last week, and some of the comments, and a lot of people are saying, Joe, Mark is in Pecco's head and all of this, and to be honest, I was kind of starting to agree with people on it, and then I was kind of looked at it, and what I decided to do was I actually went back to a couple of last year's races, and I reckon, Joe, I tried to understand, is Mark just faster, or is Pecco just slower? And I'll give you an example of this, right? So Thailand, Qatar, Austin, and Le Mans, right? Banya's Q2 lap time. So I'm going to use Q2 as the reference here, right? Because that's when they're low fuel, fresh tires, fast as fuck. Okay, that's kind of where I'm aiming here.
Flat out, right?
Yeah. So Thailand 2024, 128.7, right? Thailand 2025, 128.9. So he's 0.2 of a second slower from the 24 to 25. Qatar 2024, 150.9. Qatar 25, 151.5. 0.6 slower. Austin 201.352, 2024, 2025, 2.1 or 2.1.6, so 0.2 of a second slower. Le Mans 1 minute, or 2024, 1 minute 30.1, 2025, 1 minute 30.047. So he's 0.06 faster this year. So Pecco has just gone slower.
I thought
right?
that.
So it's
That's
not
why they're saying to each other, going, why is he not? It's not just that one guy's beating him, and now it's Marquez. He's slower than the other guys are catching up to him and passing.
So it is.
By the way, that's why Mac is one of the best professionals on the net. Look at who else would pull up that information? Just giving you a little kudos there, bud.
Thanks for that. Thanks. But no, it's one of these fellas, for me, just to come in, right? The stopwatch never lies. Mm-hmm. Right? You're either going faster, you're either going slower. Like if Pecco was going faster than last year, but Mark is still ahead of him, then you're like, okay, actually, yeah, Mark could be getting into his head now, right? Because Pecco's riding the balls off this bike. He's going faster than he's ever gone, and he still can't catch Mark, right? Where I'm now looking at it, and I'm kind of going to myself, well, like, for example, Thailand last year, Pecco's time last year was faster than Mark's. Pecco's time in where else now? Just let me have a look. Oh, that was wet. So I think Pecco's time in Spain, but that was wet, so that doesn't make a difference. And here, like Pecco would have been what, a couple of tenths off. So, like for me, when I'm looking at it, it's Pecco slowed down. So Pecco has lost his field. So he's not lying, and he's not giving us the PR of, oh well, I lost my feel, I've lost my touch. Do you know what I mean? It is a pretty genuine thing that Pecco can't get the front end feel off the bike. Now, There is also an asterisk in that because there people are saying Mark, and it was reported that Mark can't feel it. But I feel Mark is more used to.
Yeah, his whole career he's walked around a lot worse.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? And like you have to imagine, like the bike has to be perfect for Pecco to squeeze it. He has to have it the way he likes it. And that's what he's used to. Whereas Mark would be used to, I can just ride around it. You know what I mean? I'll just push through it and make it. And maybe, like, for me, that's where this is going to develop Pecco a little bit more. A bit more resilience is what I call it.
He can go back, though, now and touch that engine and go back to 2024.
No, they can't. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the next 2
The Japanese can do that.
Well, you're not wrong, but I think some of the Japanese factories have to be careful.
How so?
Because as I said, no. They have concessions. But remember, mid-year, summer break this year, those concessions are looked at.
Okay.
So if, for example, if they score more than 35% of the points scored, then they will move into Class C rather than Class D, which means they lose the engine concessions and the free testing and all of this stuff. So don't be, the concessions are looked at in the middle of the year. So that's what I said to you, and this is what I was saying last week. Currently, Yamaha are only 2% off the concessions now. Today, fucked them right over. But they need to be careful, do you know what I mean? Because if they go into that group, they can't change the engine spec.
Did it affect Honda at all?
Huh?
Did it affect Honda at all with the concessions?
It will affect everyone. So like, this is what I was saying to you last week. I'm not sure if you grasped this, but KTM and Aprilia are scoring so little points that they could move from Class C to Class D and then they can actually do the exact same as Honda and Yamaha. So they will have full engine concessions.
Right. Now, what I don't understand is when you say that the Honda, it didn't affect the Honda, Zarco's win didn't affect Honda.
It doesn't, because it doesn't go on wins, it goes on points.
But even if it went on points, he had more points. He's made more points than he has all year, practically. Right?
Yeah. But it goes on the percentage of overall points scored. So if Ducati score 100 points, just say over the course of the first 6 months, right? And Yamaha and Honda score 36 points.
Right.
But then they scored more than 35% of the points scored. So they'll move up a class into that. Then if you go from 45 or whatever it is, I think it's 45 is the next bracket. Then you go into you go from Class C to Class B. Did you get me? And then if you scored 60 or more percent of it, you're into Class A, which is where our Group A is, which is where Ducati is. So I reckon we could see this the mid-year this year. We could see that Ducati will be in Class Group A. We would have Honda and Yamaha possibly in Group C, and Aprilia and KTM could possibly end up in Group D. Whereas right now, Aprilia and KTM are in Group C, and Honda and Yamaha are in Group D.
That will be actually good for Ducati for Aprilia, because without Martin, they're not going to make shit.
Oh yeah. But you see, look, it will just open up. It will allow them to reopen their engines, homologate their engines, and this, that, the other. But it would be a disaster for the likes of Yamaha, because their testing restrictions then would kick in, right? So they couldn't be testing the V4 all they want. Now, just on the engines for 2026 or for 2027, manufacturers have all agreed not to racetrack test their engines until the start of 2026.
I bet they're kicking themselves in the ass for that one, aren't they?
Who?
The European manufacturers, aren't they kicking themselves for agreeing to that?
Well, I actually think they more so did it to hamper Ducati. So I think it was actually thing because like let's look at it in another way, right? So Ducati are the most dominant manufacturers in the grid right now, right? And this didn't come from Dorna, Jake, before you fucking even go down that route, okay?
I know.
All right. This is so if I'm Ducati, I will put a small little tickle of the development team on the 25 and 26 bikes. Nothing really to do there. So I'm going to put all the resource now onto 27. 100%.
Yeah.
So while Honda and Yamaha, Aprilia and KTM are trying to figure out which finger is in their arse, right? Then the boys are off already making a brand new bike and whatnot. So they've already got an 8-month, 9-month head start on the rest of those teams. So it only makes sense that they put in some sort of cadence to say, Ducati, you keep working on your bike. So now, look, they can still, of course, they can dyno, they can do all of this stuff, but they can't actually bring the engine to the track. And I know there was an awful lot of rumors out there, bullshit rumors, which I did call when they were saying Yamaha were testing the 850cc in the test. That never happened. They were testing. They rolled out the 1000cc V4 at that track. So it was interesting, and I'm hearing now that it's July before the performance testing of the V4 will happen. So right now it's more reliability. Will the engine shit itself when it's actually given a little bit of wang, the electronics, all of this stuff? But it's July, and this rolls in perfectly with the summer break. So this is what I'm kind of saying, and I've said this for a few weeks now, that I would expect to see a V4 just after the summer break. But they may need to introduce it just before the summer break if they're going to get done on the concessions. If they want to run it this year. Now they could turn around and not run it. But it will be very interesting to see what happens with them.
They're not allowed to run. Another thing, didn't you say they were not allowed to run the test or develop the 850 until 2026?
Yeah, so 2026 they're allowed to start the on-track development.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I have a strong feeling they're not going to run it because it doesn't make sense. So I put all that money into it when it's going to go away.
Well, they have to. You see, for me, developing the 850 off of 1000, there's not a lot if you're going to keep a V configuration.
The V4.
Yeah. So, but you can see it, and there was a comment made. I don't know if anyone was watching TNT Sports, but Michael Laverty brought us through the Yamaha, right? And what he just talked about, especially on the aero side, is that Max Bertoloni was saying that with the inline 4, it makes the side of the bike very fat, and they can't do what they want to do with the aero. So it could be an internal decision to say we need to go V. We're going to probably do V in 850. So look, we might as well start understanding it properly and the aero from it. Like I'd expect to see the 2026 Yamaha has a full revolution of everything that they're doing, so that they of what they've learned. So the bike will be skinnier, maybe a little bit longer to running that aero and all of that good stuff. So for me,
that would be the only reason I could see if they go V4 is because they're using it in the 8. It would say 850. Mm-hmm. They're using it there. That's the only reason to change it now.
Well, no, they came up with another, and it was Fabio was talking about this, and he's like, look, he's like, I can't really fight with them. You know, when it's all is fine when I'm able to run my own laps and do my own lines and all of this. But when it comes to running with them in a race, I can't.
Yeah.
And he's not wrong there, because
Look at the sprint race. He was giving it 120%. Okay.
Mhm.
The not only was the Yamaha did not handle as well, nor did it have as much power, but it was at 100. That bike was turned up as fast as it could go.
Oh well, yeah.
And everything.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
and of course they're doing this. Hope it doesn't blow up.
He was fighting though. He looked really good. I mean, his lines were
his lines were great until he got behind someone, and that's the whole fucking problem, right? When he can't run his own lines, he's goosed. Right, the bike, even though that the new engine, and I did find out that all Yamaha riders this weekend were running the new spec engine from the Jerez test. So they all homologated that because it gave them more torque, more top end, more drive off the corner. Like, it's everything that they have asked for, but like, it's still not enough. They're like, you actually saw, this was one of the first races, and you saw it in the sprint race yesterday, more so. Like, the Ducati ride height system nearly caused Mark to crash in turn 1. Do you remember that? It didn't lift, and remember he outdragged Fabio, and the rear of the bike didn't lift when he was going through the first part of turn 1 down into the sharp left for turn 2 and 3 of the Dunlop chicane. And Fabio was able to drive back right around him again. So, like, it just shows you what actually helped Fabio there was so much less technology going on the bike. Do you know what I mean? That he wasn't limited because their rear right height system isn't as good. But look, I think it was a stunning weekend from Fabio, and like, I remember when Mark did that lap time, which was stunning, and the commentators are like, "There's no beating that," and then Fabio comes along and fucking beats it. Like, do you know what I mean? And you're just like, fair play to him. And again,
I think he could have beat him. I was thinking about that. I think he could have dropped that, but he's older now. If he was younger, because remember, he came out, hit that low lap time, right? And then he didn't come out for a while. Marquez.
Yeah,
like, if he was younger, he would have went, instead of saying I'm on at this age, he goes, "Oh, I'm in the front row. I'll just, why risk?"
Yeah, but see, realistically, the Yamaha isn't a threat. Do you know what I mean? Right, Mark knows I can just cruise up and catch him in the race. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
That's kind of what he said. He said he's faster, but I'm not worried. Not too worried.
Yeah, exactly. Because
I'm not gonna throw the dice just to get pole position. He would have done that when he was younger, though.
Yeah, on a Honda.
When he was younger, he would have went out there again.
Yeah, but he doesn't bounce as well as he used to. So he's learned that lesson. Let's just
and then he had to do that on the Honda. He had to, because of the Honda. It wasn't, had issues. He had to ride around a lot of issues. So he had to put that bike as closest to the front as possible all the time. Now he doesn't have to do that. He can fight. He can fight now.
Yeah,
easily fight.
But look, let's not take anything away though from today. Zarco, absolute fucking unbelievable. Like, for me, it's just one of those things where you're just looking at it and it's like, we always say it, like, when someone is on their day, they're on their fucking day. Like, do you know what I mean? He took a gamble, yes, but once the gamble came into play, like, let's put it this way, right? He was on a dry track, wet tires, right? Which definitely must have taken the edges off of those tires, right?
Right.
Mark and all of them then came out on brand new fresh rubber, with, do you know what I mean? And they still couldn't sit. Not even they weren't even in the postcode. Like, do you know what I mean? He was just pulling and pulling and pulling. Tremaine Aldegar, I was really impressed with him over the course of the weekend. What a little fucking fighter, like. Do you know what I mean? And he's not.
When Marquez expected, he hit him. Marquez did not expect that kid to come back and bang into him. No way.
That was Fabio. Yeah. He gave it a touch. It was brilliant. It was, and look, he was
Who is
very,
this
very
new
impressive.
kid? You know what I mean? No,
Yeah.
Marquez today. He was like he banged in on. What is it? What is it today? He banged into him and he came back in. He banged in on the capacity again. I was like, good for you. You know?
Yeah, look, it's great to see a rider on it, but look, it comes back to again, just what we were talking about, Pecco, yeah, and even Mark, right? I will go and I'll stand by this, and I think the GP24 is the better bike, or is the best bike this season. So not the GP25. Do you know what I mean? Like if you put Mark and Pecco back onto a full GP24, I think we would see something different. Like no, obviously we can't go back, right?
Shame.
It's a shame, yeah, but you can't go backwards. That's the engine that's homologated.
Yeah.
And Alex Marquez needs to make the show. What does it make hay while the sun shines? Because next year he's going to be on a 25 bike. So I mean, the boys will be on the 26. Pedro Costa also had a good ride, I think. Good, lost the front again. Very, very in the sprint, but today's race was good, and it's also good. There's a needle between himself and Aldegar. They don't fucking like each other. They're from the same town, and all of this. Mav didn't do too bad. Thought he would be a little bit more, but not a bad race from Mav. Taka Nakagami.
Aldegar is the new kid, right? The new
rookie.
Kid from Scotty, their new sensation.
Yeah, which we were all kind of questioning when they signed him.
Yeah.
I can see that because he's a rookie. You're gonna question it.
Well, no,
yeah, he didn't come in. Started he was like 2020. Yeah, he didn't come out in a flash.
No, it wasn't even that. But he was halfway through the Moto 2 year. He was doing okay, and then he like went downhill as soon as he was signed, and everyone's like,
oh
shit.
Right, that's right. I remember that now. Yeah.
You know, so, but like it puts. I'll put it to you this way, right? It shows how much of a weird race it was when you see Lorenzo Savadori in 9th place.
Mm-hmm.
Right, Lorenzo Savadori started this weekend was 2.5 seconds a lap off of the pace.
Yeah.
And Taka.
And Taka, you would say you can give Taka some sort of credit. He's only like it's his first year not being a race rider. Do you know what I mean? Where I don't know when Lorenzo Savadori was actually a full-time race rider in MotoGP. So you would expect that Taka would still have a little bit of that pace left. But then, Joan Mir, I think I've always said is that Joe, look, once you're up the front, but he actually does need to start finishing races now. Do you know what I mean? He really does need to start finishing them. Understand that maybe the difference between 6th and 8th. 8th is okay still. Do you know what I mean? But there's only a certain amount of time where you can kind of hold your thing and say, okay, crashing is acceptable. Every now and then. Do you know what I mean? Not every fucking race.
Not every race.
I mean?
Yeah, he's crashing every race.
But look, saying that, I really don't think that Nakagami or that Zarco, who's out of contract, lads, let's not forget, has done any damage to himself on getting another contract with Honda or being headhunted by another manufacturer. So, because like realistically, like KTM are in the world of trouble. Danny's getting old.
Yeah.
I can't see them sticking with any Bastianini next season.
No, he really took a downturn.
Well, yeah, he just doesn't. He's not getting on with the bike, and he says, "Oh, I have it, and it's all good now," and all of this. But like results aren't showing that.
Right.
I was kind of a little bit surprised. This was the first weekend, and people say I always give Raul Fernandez shit. He did a great race weekend this weekend, and he firmly cemented Ayagora into his into the rookie side of the the team. Do you know what I mean? Igor just didn't seem to appear, and this is the second kind of race weekend on the bounce where he's being, let's just say, missing in action for me.
Right.
But I just wonder what's going to happen. We have Silverstone up next in 2 weeks' time.
I've heard. See, I'm older than you guys. I've heard that the Japanese always wanted a Japanese rider, so they always glorified anybody Japanese. If they come in fifth, it was like they're the next, the next great thing, the next go.
Mm-hmm.
So I've heard it. I've seen them come and I've seen them go so many times. I want to see definite,
Yeah, look, I
want to see him winning races before I believe it.
I definitely think Nakagami Agora has the talent. It's just how is it going to be brought out from him? We know that there is problems with the Aprilia, and they're not great problems to have. So it will be tricky to see and try and get him out of it. Will Honda try and rob him? I do think so. I really genuinely do think so. I think I will be very honest. I'll put it that I think Chantra won't be kept on now. I know he missed this race with arm pump surgery, but I find it very hard with the way that the Honda is now performing that they'll accept him down there. Do you know what I mean? So I think he's going to be under pressure for the second half of the season, especially to start getting towards the top 10. Because the Honda is light years better than it was last year. Do you know what I mean? So I think they'll be, for me, I think he probably needs to pick up the pace. Fucking terrible weekend for Franco Morbidelli. I think he crashed in nearly every session.
It was like, it didn't seem like it was like, oh, okay, back to the old Morbidelli.
Yeah. And before all the anarchs going, actually, he didn't crash in this session. I'm just giving kind of like a view of his weekend. Yeah. He crashed at least once every day that he was in fucking. Alex Marquez has had his first race DNF. His brothers now was 22 points ahead of him. 51 points ahead of Pecco. It's kind of like Pecco realistically, and he did come out on I think Thursday, and he was like, I didn't get what I needed from the test. I now know I'm not going to get what I need, so I just need to change my riding style to come around it. So it's a big thing for Pecco, really.
That's one thing, I hate to hear that, because like I remember I always say that boxers and road racers are saying every time you always hear a fighter and they go, I'm going to change my style. I'm going to go from a boxer to a puncher, or I'm going to go from a puncher to a boxer. And as soon as things get heavy, hot and heavy, they always go back, to the original style that they've trained in the body. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And same thing with the motorcycles. They as soon as they start getting, up to the top tier where they're getting their lap times down to nothing, they go back to their old style, whatever they're doing.
Mm-hmm. And look, that's it. Look, everyone has a plan till you're punched in the face. Like, do you know what I mean? Yes. That's very, very normal. But I think
hard to change a trained reflex.
Yeah, you can't. And there's obviously something in the 24 that they got right. And like Fabio, they're all complaining about the same problem in the GP25 of the front end field. So like Fabio Di Gianantonio says it, Pecco says it, Mark says it. Mark is able to adapt to it or adapt around it, let's just say. But yeah, I think it's just going to be one of those things that they need to figure it out, and I don't think Pecco has the time to get it figured out. Like if you look at it, if you take Mark out of it, right? Like realistically, Pecco would be 20 points behind in the championship if Mark wasn't on the Ducati. Do you know what I mean? Which is very achievable-ish point. Do you know what I mean? Whereas with Mark, Mark will be trying cute now. I think he'll be cute. I think he's made his mistakes and he's learned, just to start accepting second places and this, that, and the other, and then start keeping the lead. He was overconfident in, and these were his own words, overconfident in Spain and in where was it, Austin, when he crashed. Do you know what I mean? But he can't give away those points again. Do you know what I mean? Otherwise, like, if he didn't crash in those, he'd be 100 points clear of Pecco at this stage.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I don't think Pecco has an excuse at this point, because he has the data. He can just look at.
You can't, and that's the biggest load of bullshit. If you actually know how to write, you can see what a person is doing, but you can't replicate it, and you genuinely can't. Like, you can, like, that's by looking at someone's data, you understand where he's going faster than you in a certain section, right? But you can't exactly figure out what is he doing on that bike. And I can guarantee you this, he's not going to fucking tell you either. Right?
Oh no.
So when you look at someone's lap data compared to yours, you're saying, okay, going into the entry into this, you're doing this speed, and into this, and trying to replicate someone like Mark, you're not going to be able to do it. But saying that, what Mark does on left-hand corners, right, is unnatural. But then Pecco on right-hand corners, Mark can't figure it out either. Do you know what I mean? And it's normally
on left-hand and right-hand corners. Like, I'm left-handed when it comes to bikes. I feel much better going down lefts than rights.
Yeah.
I don't know, I think it was CB. Didn't you say you were better around rights than lefts?
I want to say, but yeah, right. I'm more comfortable right-hand side. But Pecco always crashes here. I want to say it's the same corner. He's crashed. I think he hit Maverick last year before that.
That was a different chicane.
Oh, okay. Well, he's crashed here all the time.
I know what you're thinking too. Where we got hit, we got rolled over, we got run over.
Mm-hmm.
That was Barcelona.
Chicane there.
That was Barcelona.
Okay.
It's just, I don't know. I just feel like excuses. How many excuses are you going to use?
But where was the excuse? Right, he got taken off today. He didn't crash. He got taken off today.
Pecco? We talking on Pecco?
Pecco, yeah.
Okay, I thought he lost the front on the.
No, that was yesterday. Okay. Any Bassanini on the curbs hit him, bang, off he went, and took Joe and Mir. So it's not really making up excuses. And yes, you can look, as I mentioned, you can look at someone's data and you can understand that they're going in at 22 mile an hour and you're going in at 21 mile an hour, right? You try and replicate that. You can't, right? There's not a thing to say that you're 1.2 meters from the edge of the track as your turning point. It's not like that you can go and recreate his lines. So you then also have like positioning, weight, all of this stuff. Like Pecco's a taller, longer, lankier person than Mark, right? So things are going to be different. His lean angles.
That was the thing with the tank. Was that the why he was saying there was an issue with the tank?
No, what he said is that when he puts on the smaller tank for the sprint races, he loses the balance of the bike completely. So he doesn't have any trust in the front end to overtake. And it's probably a true statement. Because you're not putting on the full, 21 liter tank, it's a 12 liter tank or something like that.
Yeah, you're not allowed to change. You're not allowed to keep the same tank.
You're not. No. You have to put on a sprint tank. So, like, what it does mean is that. But then saying that, where I was kind of questioning that, then is like, okay, but halfway through a race, even with the big tank on, Pecco's pace is fine. Do you know what I mean? And coming into the last few laps of the race, he's fine. So is it just the extra couple of grams that are missing at the start of a sprint race are making the difference? Or is it like how much does the fuel tank weigh empty? Do you know what I mean? Because what's the difference between the full tank or the full race tank with half the fuel in it when he's in the middle of a race to the sprint race? Do you know what I mean? And it must be only maybe a kilo or two in the difference.
Not that much. Yeah.
But you have to also understand, CV, and these things, like moving something half a mil will transform the bike.
Mhm.
It's not like our road bikes where you're taking off your forks and one is
I was
like
gonna say a mirror. That's like taking off on a road bike, taking off a mirror and saying that just changes the whole bike. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, but it does, and that's the beauty
That's
of
hard to grasp, though.
Yeah.
You know what it is.
Yeah.
I got 2 ounces over there. What the hell? It shows you just how how close to the edge they run.
but how sensitive they are to run it as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like this was my initial problem with aero, right? Was that the aero provides 5 kilos per wing, just say, right? I'm just taking a figure.
Mhm.
And they crash and they lose fucking 25 kilos of aero on one side of the bike.
Right.
Surely, do you know what I mean? You're just like, all right, that's not fucking safe, because that fucking thing now is fucking pulling and left and right and all of this, right? That was one of my big things with aero at the very start. But a lot have done it in a very cute way that you won't do. A lot of aero now is internal in the bikes as well, right? It's not just the external aero. But I suppose they're that sensitive, and that's where I think where I give Mark the biggest credit is that he has an unbelievable way of removing the brain, right? And what I mean by that is that,
Young Frankenstein, Abby Normal.
Abby Normal, yeah. But it's just like he can ride through the problems. Pedro Costa is like that too. Like, do you remember last year, everyone on the KTM, they could do fuck all with the KTM because of the vibrations, and he just rode through them. Do you know what I mean? And it was just like he switched off the brain and just like, all right, I'll just go do this. Do you know what I mean?
What's up with Pedro Costa lately? He must be signed somewhere else, I think. Or have plans on it. He's got his back stacked, I think.
Yeah, I did mention this before, and it was I do think there's something up. I think there's like, but you know something though. There was one of the things I couldn't stop thinking about yesterday when Fabio took pole. Was like, I reckon Fabio could beat Mark on a Ducati.
I was thinking that. I was wondering, can he beat him on a Ducati?
I reckon he would.
That's just hard to believe. Just anybody can outrun or outspeed, have more raw speed than Marquez.
Well, yeah, but right, this is twice in a row, right, that Fabio has put the Yamaha on pole.
It's an inferior bike.
On a bike that has no business being there. Do you know what I mean? Okay, yeah. Because like someone did say, like, you know, put Mark on a Ducati. Like, if Mark was on the Honda now, where would he be? He'd probably be close to the Ducatis, but he wouldn't be fighting with them. Do you know what I mean?
No.
And you know, Fabio is kind of in the same spot, right? He's not close, but he is fighting with them. Do you know what I mean? He's giving them a run for their money. We all know where it's going to end up, that he can't ride at 120% for the whole race. So
all apart.
Well, yeah, but the tires degrade. He uses too much fuel. Yeah. All of this stuff. So like
26 would be a real barn burner. Just put it that way.
Yeah, but like I just think is like, someone can do that and that is used to going to that level on a Ducati, then I think personally, I think he'd go there, and I do think Fabio will take an awful lot more risk. You know, he's younger, he hasn't had the big one.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So it was one of the things I was thinking about yesterday.
He's gonna win a sprint this year, but an actual race, it's gonna take an act of God for him to.
Well, yeah, but go back 3 months ago when we were looking at the gap between Honda and Yamaha. We were like, they're not going to get anywhere fucking near it. Like, do you know what I mean? And he has 2 poles, and you know, I think I'll be honest. I think the Pecco situation will get sorted out relatively quickly.
That's interesting.
It was just Gigi's reaction when he lost the front, and I don't know, did you see it? It was shown on TV, and you could see Gigi was cross, but it wasn't cross with Pecco. Do you know what I mean? But it was like he was angry, and I would think Gigi will go back now and try and fucking solve. Do you know what I mean? Because he's an engineer first and foremost, right?
Right.
Right. One of his two stars is crashing because he can't feel the front. Who's publicly come out and said, "Well, they're not going to fucking help me." Do you know what I mean? And now it's kind of anyway. So I think that will start to, and then I wouldn't be putting it. I wouldn't be putting it outside the realms of possibility that the boys will start fighting at the front. So that the two Marquezes and Pecco. That's where Fabio will come into it. As soon as they'll pull away, they start fighting with each other, and all of a sudden they start losing time. And up comes Fabio then. Joe, his tires are in better condition, this and that and the other. The boys have either taken each other fucking off or out, or they've banged into each other, or they've removed aero, or this or that and the other. And I won't be surprised if he wins the main race, riding the way he's riding. Because remember now as well, like even though in the main races, even though in the main race he hasn't looked that well, his confidence now is through the fucking roof. Right now at this very minute, even though that he crashed today and whatnot, he's like, I know I can get pole. I know I can annoy them. I know, it's only a matter of time before but one of these days they'll all fuck up. Do you know what I mean? And
who is this?
Fabio.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him win a main race. Yes, probably you're right that the sprint is the most likely.
Yeah, I feel like sprint. Main is gonna take
everybody's been thinking, everyone has thought that Marquez was going to be banging into Pecco by now. But Pecco just really hasn't been close enough.
He's not there to even. We won't know.
Right.
We won't know because he's not there.
So So Pecco's about 0.3 of a second a lap slower than where he was last year. That's where he is.
Mark Marquez is gentler to his brother than he is other riders.
I believe that too. Yeah. They respect each other. The brothers, they're not as competitive as I would think.
Well, it's a long fucking flight home if you're fucking not talking.
Yeah.
They're on the same fucking plane.
Then they go home in the same house.
Yeah.
Did we ever figure that out?
Yeah, they're still living in the same house, and I know someone was saying that they're not, that they have their own places now. But during COVID, Mark moved, I think, to Milan or one of the cities, and it was in the documentary that they live in the same house right now. Of course, as wives, children.
I saw they were, but that was a while back.
It was about 3 years ago. It may have changed, but I don't think so. I think they're all still living the same. They're not living in their mom and dad's house. But
but they didn't live at the mom and dad's house, but the mother still did the laundry.
Yeah.
I think, what?
Making peanut butter jelly sandwiches.
You can have a girl come in to pick up your damn laundry, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. Well, that's mammy's for you.
That's the mom.
That's mammy's for you. Yeah, but look, overall, I thought it was pretty okay. Look, it was a long race, but I was absolutely delighted to see Zarco win it. Absolutely thrilled. Do you know what I mean? Truly deserved, and he won it, which is the other thing as well. I do want to put an asterisk around. Huh?
You had a tear in your eye, all soft to you.
I did, because he's one of those fellas that you want. Joe, he's not an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
Joe
reminds me of Jack a little bit.
Yeah. Like
you're Irish. I didn't think you guys got along with the French. I didn't think anybody got along with the French.
I didn't say about the French. I just said Zarco's a sound fella.
Kind of when you're French, you just got all one big stamp. I'm French. I'm an asshole.
Yeah, French I don't understand. No. I haven't met too many French assholes, luckily. I know a few. of a few, but I haven't met them or had an argument with them. But look, look today, I thought it was a long race, but it was definitely well deserved. As I said, Mark did a great race. Pecco, Pecco really needs to answer in Silverstone now, realistically, and that's why I think they have only 2 or 3 weeks really to figure what's going on with him. Just looking at obviously we can't look at their internal data, but looking at the data of lap times, which the stopwatch never lies, lads. Pecco is about 0.3 of a second slower, 3 to 4 tenths of a second slower this year than he was last year. So it's not Mark coming in and blowing the doors off him. Right. It's just Pecco has just gone backwards in how he feels with the bike, which is something that he said all along.
And again, CV, he watched the races over and repeatedly. Check out the Pecco's front end. I know it's Max is right. It's hard to differentiate with the front fender, but take a look. It seems like he's having a problem with that thing going like this.
I think it's actually coming from the rear. And I've mentioned this before, is that the Ducati's ride height system doesn't just drop the back on corner exit. When they're going into corner entry, once the weight transfers, there's also a device in there. So as the rear of the bike lifts up like this, they have a device pushing the rear down so that the rear wheel stays in contact. So it stops the bike pivoting around the headstock. I think that's where the problem is, personally. But I've no proof in it. That's just from what I've watched. I think that's where it is on corner entry. That's fucking
because of the chatter. They're saying they had too much chatter, and now they.
I think what it's just doing is it's building the imbalance into it, because you do see when Pecco hits the brake, the rear of the bike tries to kick immediately, and I think that's what I think. I just think there's forces happening there that he can't. He feels that he doesn't have control over. Do you know what I mean? And then you're kind of like, are you taking a little bit of pressure off the brakes? Do you know what I mean? To try and regain that feel. I don't know. But look, that's kind of where I think the issue looks.
I get it to a degree because of the electronics kicking in. I think you said that last week. It's doing so much as far as to stabilize the bike. So maybe he's saying, like, can he take some of that out, or?
I don't. By the way, that over suspension device they put on the Aprilia RSV4, it works. You feel the difference. That thing holds that rear tire down. You're going around and you can feel how it makes it stable going around a corner. Like it's just following that bumps as it goes through. It's really nice. It's like $350. It doesn't look like it should work, but it does.
I get you. Now, I know people out there as well might be just thinking, Joe, what we're talking about is pure shite about feel and this, that, and the other. Well, today's race was a pure example of the difference in feel. Right? Mark, there was no one could hold a candle to Zarco today, right? He was on more worn tires, but he had the feel of the track. He had the feel of what was going on. And he was like a second a lap faster than absolutely everyone. And that's feel. That's what it does to you. Do you know what I mean? It gives you that confidence to go that little bit deeper, or what happened. Like, I wasn't surprised, like, when you're watching Cecchinello over the side of the thing and he's waving at him, he's like, fucking slow down, will you? For fuck's sake, you're going to crash. Like, just show it. I mean, and that's where it is, and that's the difference. And if you look at it, as I said, from I think Pecco's like 0.3, 0.4 off. All of a sudden, just we're talking probably the most minute little suspension change or something on that front will help that an awful lot, or an electronic change, and all of a sudden that's neutralized. Pecco comes back to his thing. He'll be thereabouts with Mark. Do you know what I mean? So, it will be interesting to see. Silverstone will be a big weekend, I think, for Pecco, if I'm honest.
Yeah, they should be able to easily remedy that, you would think.
I'd hope so. I would hope so.
Easy. But
Like we do need someone else up there fighting with the Marquez brothers. Do you know what I mean, for the championship?
We need more dry races.
Yeah.
Really-
Well, France normally rains. To be fair, Britain.
Yeah.
I was looking actually at the extended forecast. I think it's going to be raining on the Saturday and dry on the Sunday for the race. Yeah, I still haven't decided whether I'm going to go to the sprint on Saturday in Britain.
No, in Britain, yeah, that's right. You guys, everything rains on you guys.
Well, no, we've had 12 days of sunshine in Ireland here, so
12 days. What year was that?
no. Our summer is over. Do you know what I mean? We actually got to wear shorts and flip flops. Anyway, yeah. But other than that, and look, the Northwest 200 was on yesterday. I don't know, did you catch that? It's pretty intense racing. If you haven't, look up Josh Brooks.
Brooks, Grace, that's a name from the past.
He was riding in the super stock race, but he actually has one of those Insta cameras that sit in your eye here, well, next to your eye in the helmet, so you actually have an onboard view of the race around the triangle. I was watching it this morning. It's pretty good. It's pretty fucking good. Do you know what I mean? Just these guys, 9 miles, 4.5 minutes. Do you know what I mean? And that's coming to almost stops and chicanes and stuff like that. So it's just epic stuff. Yeah. But other than that, I suppose we'll wrap it up there for this week. We will see you all again next week.
And folks, buy a bike. This is the year for it before the EPA comes out and crushes it all.
That's a shit.
It is. I'm just being nice to our members.
Yeah, you see, we don't have those problems over here because we get it. We change the can we change the exhaust and get the ECU flashed, and away we go.
Yeah, we do have problems with that with our EPA, but no, I mean, just the manufacturers are coming down on them. Even you guys, everybody, they're going to they're getting rid of inline fours or 4-cylinder engines. They're going to parallel twins, and it's not like they say, oh, they're cheaper, but they're not that much cheaper. You know, you're still looking at a $13,000-$14,000 motorcycle, and it's a freaking twin, parallel twin, with 80 horsepower. You know what I mean?
With 80 horsepower.
Yeah. And you see, you'll be flat out in your parallel twin with 80 horsepower, and you see a little 30-year-old Aprilia RS250.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. I saw my Triumph Sprint ST 1050, and it was a sport tour, right? And I worked it though, but pipes and bigger valves and everything else in it. And now I worked with the 9s. Now it's a sport bike, and it's a 2006, for God's sakes. It's 20 years old.
Yeah.
It's beating. It's now it's as fast as a CBR 1000.
Right. On that bombshell, we'll wrap it up, and we'll see everyone again